Today, we're going to be talking about some of the pro tips for new sellers. If you're a new seller, this should be helpful for you. There's so much that you could tell a new seller when it comes to pro tips, but I'm just going to scratch the surface with some of the big ticket items that I think are the most important if you're a new seller just trying to get going, trying to get started, trying to understand what to do. So, tip number one is you need to make time for your new business. You need to make time for your new business. I see people start the business and then they're like, oh, well, I didn't have time to list. Well, I didn't have time to source. Well, I didn't have time to ship that thing off. Well, this happened and that happened. And so if this is really a business that you want to be around for a long time, if this is not just a fly by night and tomorrow you're going to be running after the next shiny object, and this is something you really want to turn into income. Because if you haven't been paying attention, people are 100% buying online. Sales for online sellers have gone up exponentially also. So is inflation and the cost of shipping and everything else. But sellers are still making money. So this is something that you really want to do. You have to make time for your new business. I encourage people all day long to create a new schedule, create a real schedule, a schedule that they can follow, a schedule that works with their life, so that way you know exactly when you plan on listing, when you plan on doing product research, when you plan on doing sourcing, exactly when you're going to execute those things about your business, when you plan on shipping stuff to your customers. So create a real schedule that's realistic based off of your life. Okay. I always encourage it to be a consistent schedule so that it's so much easier to follow. But if you have to do things in the pockets, which is what I started off my business doing, things in the pockets, then do what you need to do to keep your business alive and to keep it growing. The second thing within that same topic is build a plan. You need to have a game plan. Like, where do you want to be in how many months? Like, are you going to test drive retail arbitrage for the first 6 months just so you can get comfortable with the process and whatever the platforms are that you're going to do retail arbitrage on or online arbitrage? Are you planning on transitioning to get to white label or private label? Do you want to do wholesale? Again, have a vision for your business and how much time you're going to give yourself to make progress. What are your target goals? So if you hadn't thought about that, you need to establish some target goals. Even if the target goal is, I'm going to list 5 items every day for the next 6 months and then see what I want to do next. What were my results listing 5 items every single day for the next 6 months? And what did that do to my business? What did I get in sales? So 2 things within make time for your business is 1, create a schedule, and 2, create a plan. Okay. Next is to decide on your e-commerce method. There are many different ways in which you can do this e-commerce game. You can do retail and online arbitrage, which is where you will buy inventory or buy items to resell. You can resell items that you've purchased from Walmart or the Dollar Tree or from Five Below or from Target or from Pop Shelf. Or there's so many different stores, but you are sourcing items from a retailer and you're reselling it on a marketplace platform. Marketplace platform like Amazon or eBay or Etsy or Walmart or Shopify, or, well, that's not even a marketplace. Shopify is not a marketplace. It's a website builder. But in any case, I think you get the idea. Figuring out where you want to resell it. And that's a different decision. But you need to figure out which method you want to try. I think in the early stages, if you don't have a lot of money, print on demand is one of those that doesn't require a significant amount of money, that it is going to require some time for sure. And you can scratch the surface and see what happens trying out print on demand. If you have a little bit of money, then definitely retail arbitrage or maybe even drop shipping. Not all platforms are friendly to drop shippers. Not all platforms are friendly to resellers. So you need to figure out what you think you want to try and then at least try it for 3 months, but figure out which method of e-commerce you think is going to suit you well. If you got a little bit more money, then, maybe wholesale is your way you go. The next is to decide which platform you want to try first. So most people will sell on multiple platforms. But if you're a new seller, I'm not going to recommend that that's what you do when you first start. Decide on a platform and get comfortable. Like, get comfortable, settle in, learn that platform, learn the back office, get really familiar with it. Learn what the platform reports are. Figure out how you can streamline your listing effort on that platform. Understand what are some of the perks of that platform. Understand who are the buyers that are going to that platform. So again, decide on the platform that you want to sell on and figure that out, and then test drive that. Like I said, for a minimum of 3 months, test drive that platform and get to understand it better. The next is to build a budget. You should always have a budget, even if you have very little money to start with. So, you can get started with reselling as low as $5. Most people would not believe me, but yes, you can. I mean, the fact that you can buy inventory, you can like buy a bunch of bulk inventory for like 5 cents if you wanted to, depending on where you get it from, and resell it. Like, you resell it in bulk or resell it in pieces. I can remember our nonprofit, we bought bracelets from China. And I think we got them. I mean, we got them inexpensively. I want to say maybe it was 10 cents. And we resold them for anywhere from $7 to $10 a pop. So again, you got to get them from overseas to here. And so you got to deal with that. But we resold them to raise money for our nonprofit. And that is one thing that you can do. Like, you can order from overseas. You need to be prepared for all of the things associated with that, which is a whole slightly different conversation. But the key that I'm trying to make here is that you do need to have a budget. You need to have some money to pay for inventory. You need to have some money to be able to ship your inventory. You need to have some money potentially to get your inventory here if you're ordering at wholesale. You need to have some money. And you need to leave a little bit of money in your account as you make sales, so that way you're prepared for returns. So build a budget, factor in some of those things so that you know what you are going to be able to set aside to be able to invest into your business. I would encourage you. Yes, you can start with $5, but I would not recommend that you start at $5. I would definitely recommend that you start anywhere from $100 to $500. If you're really ready to get aggressive and you've got your tax refund check out there and you got a couple of grand, that is a good, solid way to get going. But make sure that you budget that so you know how much you want to set aside for each month, how much you're willing to invest in inventory, and know that all inventory doesn't sell immediately. So just be prepared for that as well. The next one is to thoroughly analyze your product options. Do some really good product research. That is the short version. You really do need to do some really good product research, niche research. Figure out what is selling, what's in demand, what's going to be in demand, what are the things that people are buying, how many are they buying? Are they buying it in bulk quantities? Are you selling multiples of it? Is it a single? What are those hot items that are coming down the track? Now, are you going to be the only seller on it? No, you're not. There will be some things where you will be the only seller for a brief moment in time, and there will be other things that will be multiple sellers on it, depending on your e-commerce method. If you're going to do private label, then of course you'll be the only seller. If you're going to do white label, quasi private label, then again, you're still going to be the only seller. But with white label, know that there will be variations of your exact same product that other sellers will be selling, and they will sell it under their name. And so again, that's a competition. Whereas if you're doing true private label, where you're developing something brand new that doesn't exist in the marketplace, at least in its current state, then there's an opportunity for you to stand out. Private label is going to require some investment money. So you want to make sure that the research that you're doing when it comes to whatever products you're going to potentially sell, that you analyze the products well, that you figure out what your potential ROI is on those products, that you understand from your supplier, how long is it going to take to get those products to me, and what is your supplier willing to do. But you want to analyze products to determine the demand and to determine the interest and to determine the cost and the shipping expense. And the last thing is, well, there's many others, but this won't be the last thing. But you also want to make sure that you pay attention to, if you're going to ship it or somebody else is going to ship it, is this one of those products that's going to be a shipping time hog? So, I could sell these little bracelets and it takes me 2 seconds to drop them into envelopes. versus something that I have to sit here and I got to box it up and tape it up and every time I got to ship it out. And so I could sell something that takes me 5 seconds to ship, stick a label on it, close the seal, and be done with it. Or I'm going to spend at least 5 to 10 minutes every single time that somebody buys this. And is it worth the investment? I mean, if you're going to get, an amazing ROI on it, then it might be worth it, especially if it's an in-demand product. But your products need to solve a problem, or they need to be in demand, or they need to be hot, or you need to understand what the interest is or the demand is for the product. So you got to learn how to do product research, and you need to analyze it. Okay. The next is to source regularly, list regularly, ship regularly. So in other words, you need to make sure that you're ordering inventory so that you have inventory available to, sell. There's nothing like running out of inventory. That's a horrible thing. And to have to wait like, oh, it's going to be 6 weeks before that inventory comes in. No, you need to pay attention to what's happening with your business. So you're going to make sure you have enough inventory based on the projections, based on the research that you've done and the product research of what the demand is, that you have enough inventory and that you can order the inventory and get here in a timely manner so that you won't run out of inventory. That's one thing. Next, creating your listings on a regular basis. So if you're selling one product, you don't have a lot of listings to create. You just need to make sure your quantity is updated. But if you're selling a variety of different products, then you want to make sure that you're being consistent and giving the platforms what they want, because the platforms love consistent listers. By default, for most of the platforms, the algorithm will give a little more presence to those who are creating listings on a regular basis, which means you could get more organic sales because of the fact that you're listing regularly. Again, that's going to be based off your e-commerce method. If you're selling private label, you may not be listing on a regular basis. But if you're doing retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, you're selling books, you're doing print on demand, you're doing drop shipping, or even wholesale, you're probably creating some listings on a regular basis. So being consistent about that. And then shipping on a regular basis, you got to get these shipments out. That's the only way you get to keep the money, is that you ship the items when it sells. If you don't ship it on a regular basis or ship it out in a timely manner, then you have a chance of refunds and returns. So you don't want to deal with that. Make sure your stuff gets shipped out on a regular basis. And even if it's not you shipping it, make sure that you're paying attention to whoever is shipping it, so that way you can guarantee that it actually went out, and you can help your customers to feel more comfortable with the fact that they're doing transactions with you. Again, building up that customer rapport and helping with customer loyalty over time. The next one is to pay attention to your stats and track your results. You should always be tracking your results. So I was listening to Daily Refinement, and Daily Refinement was talking about the fact that he just recently had a baby. And one of the nurses, I don't want to get it wrong, but I'm probably going to get it wrong. One of the nurses said that if it's not tracked, it didn't happen, or if it's not logged or something, it didn't happen. And I thought that was so insightful, because in order for you to determine whether or not you're making any progress in your business, you got to track what you're doing. You got to pay attention. What are the number of listings that you're creating? What are the sales that you're getting on a regular basis? In order for you to identify any trends that may be happening with the product that you are selling, you got to pay attention to the results that are happening on a regular basis. You got to pay attention to the ROI. And is there a need to shift the price? Is there somebody else jumping on the listing that's dropping the price by about $5? And what's that going to do to you? Are you going to stay and hold? Or are you going to go ahead and drop your price too? So again, paying attention to the stats and the data on a regular basis, and tracking your own personal results and your own personal activity in your business as a new seller will actually help you with your productivity. One of the biggest things that sellers have a hard time with, outside of just getting started, once they get started, is being consistent so that they can sustain the productivity that they were getting. Like, you want to continue to get regular sales. So give the platforms what they want. Be consistent about creating listings. And when you do that, you will hopefully get consistent traffic, consistent sales, consistent lookers, consistent everything. And you'll have some data that you can work with. There's going to come a time where your sales will get to a certain level, the number of listings you're creating, where the number of listings you create will start to equal the sales. If not, the sales will overrun that. And so, you may start off with creating, I don't know, 50 listings a week for the first couple of months. And then after a while, it's like, oh, okay, I am actually having 80 sales, a week. And that may take some time to get there. But you want to track your results. The other thing about tracking your results, it's going to give you some insight on accidental learning. Sometimes it's intentional learning, but accidental learning. When you're tracking your results, you can tell whether or not, like if you want to do a split test, something about the listing, the title, the description, you're going to, by default, over time, if you're paying attention to the data, start to get better at creating listings. You might tweak that title. You might bring that listing down and relist it. You might change up the description. You might change up the photo, and you start to see, oh my gosh, I'm getting more traction. I'm getting more eyeballs on my listing. I'm getting more sales. I went from getting 4 sales a week on this item to now I'm getting 4 sales a day on this item, because you're paying attention to what's happening. You're tracking your results. So one of the things we have in the eCom planner is we have reworked listings, because reworking a listing can help you to get some sales. It can revive a listing and help you to get some sales, depending on the platform that you're selling on. So pay attention to your stats, pay attention to your results, pay attention to what's happening in your business, and then as needed, tweak it so that you can see if that helps you to get better results over time. Next is, don't forget about customer service. Don't forget about responding to customer questions. Don't forget about dealing with platform questions, because the platform may ask you questions. Don't forget about addressing returns and refunds. Customer service is going to be important. It's not going to take up your entire life. Over time, as you have more and more sales, it may become time consuming, but initially it's not going to take up your entire life. But customer service is an important part of this. You notice that every store you walk into, whether it is a grocery store or whether it is a department store, they all have a customer service department. All stores have them. You as a seller need to have one too. So you need to pay attention to what's happening and do what you can to serve your customers well and to serve them right. Also, pay attention to the reviews. That's sort of indirectly part of the customer service as well, because if people are putting negative reviews out there, that can impact traffic that's going to you, and that may pump the brakes on things, especially if like a platform flags your item as frequently returned. That's a mental note to you, like, okay, I'm not sourcing from this supplier anymore. So that's another one of those pay attention to the results kind of thing. But yeah, you want to pay attention to the reviews as part of that customer service. Next is to be consistent and to be intentional. Be consistent when you list. Be consistent when you source. Be consistent when you do product research. Be consistent about managing your budget. Be consistent about the activities you engage in. Be intentional about where you invest your time, money, and resources when it comes to your business. I think over time, as people, like, if you jumped into this game during Q4, the results you get in Q4 and what the life looks like after Q4 are 2 different things. Q4 is its own beast. And so what people did in Q4, maybe they weren't intentional, they were haphazard, they were random. And so they got really good results because it was Q4. And then they continue that practice into Q1 and Q2 and Q3. And they're trying to figure out why they're not getting the same results. Well, this is your opportunity to start doing things right, to start being consistent, to pay attention to your results. So you need to be intentional about where you spend your time, money, and resources, and where you waste your time. Sitting in front of your computer and watching 5 hours worth of YouTube videos on how to be a better seller is not going to help you. You can tweak one thing a week or one thing every 2 weeks about your business and what you do in your business in order to see gradual improvements over time. That is worth the investment of tweaking one or maybe even 2 things every week or every 2 weeks, just so you can see what the progress is going to be. If it's something that's a major tweak, then you need to allow a few weeks to really see what that thing did. So, but if it's a minor tweak, then you can implement a minor tweak every 2 days, If it's something small, like, oh, okay, I'm going to name my images. All right, that's it. And then 2 days from now, okay, I'm going to start sharing over to Facebook, whatever it happens to be. So be intentional. Next is to be patient and remember that not everything will sell. When you first start, you're not perfect. Even experienced sellers run into this from time to time. The goal is to never source stuff that's not going to sell. So can you sell it and get rid of it, drop the price so you can just get rid of it? Yeah, get your money out of it. Sure, you can do that all day long. But the goal is not to sell something and then once you get your money out of it and you make your profit threshold to drop the price so that it impacts all the other sellers. Some people use that as their strategy. It's not a kind strategy. But maybe they want to invest their attention and time somewhere else, and so they may do that. People who have deep pockets make that kind of move. You as a new seller, you can't make that kind of move. So your goal is, again, going back to doing a good job analyzing your product options. Definitely do that. And then just remember that there's going to be stuff that you're going to source that's not going to sell. And maybe it's the way that the listing was created. Maybe it's the image. Maybe it's the description. Maybe it's the platform. Maybe it's the photo, the feature photo, and maybe you need to change that. So I would tweak some of those things, and it could be the price. Once you have tweaked all of those things and nothing is happening, then this may be one of those things that you just like, okay, this is not the thing. It also could be the season. It may not be the season for this item to sell like hotcakes. So a little grace, a little mercy, a little patience is what's going to be required. And remember your why. When things get weird, when things get rough, when the platforms are saying you can't sell this thing, or the platform is taking your listing down, or when, I'm not going to say this is going to happen to you, but it does happen, and it may not happen immediately as a seller, but every once in a while there's some weird stuff that happens with the platforms. It's just the nature of the game. So you just need to be prepared for it. And one of the things that's going to help you persevere through it is to remember your why. Why did you even start this e-commerce thing? Why are you even doing it? Why are you even selling products? Why did you even, just your why? Is it because of your kids? Is it because of your debt? Is it because you want more freedom and more time with your family? Is it because you're trying to buy a car or pay for that vacation that's coming up? Remember your why, so that when hiccups happen, and they will, I can't tell you how quickly they'll happen, but they will, that you can persevere through it, survive it, and continue going. Make adjustments, because all the platforms, one thing that you will learn is that nothing is constant about any of the platforms. There is always some new thing that they're rolling out. Something's changing. Can't do this. Can do this. Hey, we added this feature. So there's always going to be change. That's the life cycle of a seller. There will be perpetual change. So you're going to be required to be flexible. You're going to be required to be flexible. So when you're getting frustrated, just remember your why. Okay. So I hope this is helpful. I hope that you use this in conjunction with some of the other tips that we've given in the past when it comes to being a seller, and whether you're selling on Amazon, eBay, Etsy, Walmart, whatever the platform is, Mercari, Poshmark, Facebook Marketplace. I hope you use this and come back to it time and time again. Maybe listen to it as a new seller once a month, just as a reminder as you run into obstacles and challenges. And we will say goodbye for now. Thanks for joining us. Bye, y'all.